They laughed at her the moment she walked in, grease on her hands, worn-out boots, and a second-hand jacket 2 sizes too big. She was just a girl to them, just a mechanic's daughter. But by the end of that day, none of them could look her in the eye. It had been a month since the machinery failed at the Redwood Steel Factory outside of Montreal. The main production unit, a towering, humming beast that shaped raw steel into train components, had come to a grinding halt. The company was bleeding millions with every passing hour, and the pressure was suffocating. Experts had been flown in from Toronto, from Germany, even from Japan. They brought laptops, fancy tools, degrees, and arrogance, and they all left one by one, shaking their heads, blaming outdated tech and bad design. No one could fix it. In a modest home just outside the industrial area, 56-year-old Jean Marceau, a retired factory mechanic, watched the news about the shutdown with quiet grief. For 28 years, he had worked on that very machine. It was his pride, his legacy. But now, after a heart condition had forced him to retire early, all he could do was sit and watch it fall apart. His daughter Emily couldn't stand to see him that way. She was only 23, still studying part-time at a technical college. But she had grown up, with the rhythmic clang of tools and the smell of metal in her hair. Her earliest memories were of passing bolts to her father in the cramped repair pit behind the factory. "Let me try," she said quietly one evening as they sat by the small fireplace. Her father chuckled sadly, mistaking her determination for sympathy. But she meant it. The next morning, Emily put on her father's old coveralls, packed his battered toolkit, and walked into the factory through the front gates. Not as a tourist or a child this time, but as someone on a mission. The receptionist didn't take her seriously. Neither did the engineers. The factory manager almost laughed in her face. "I know this machine," she told them. "It's like family to me." Desperation makes people listen. And maybe somewhere inside, the manager remembered Jean Marceau and the respect he once commanded. They gave her a few hours. That was all. Inside the factory, the silence felt unnatural. The enormous unit stood cold and lifeless. Emily walked around it slowly, running her fingers over its metal skin, whispering to it like it was a friend that had fallen asleep. She climbed into its control panel, opened its core circuits, and began. What she found wasn't some complicated, unsolvable engineering flaw. It was heartbreakingly simple. A rare type of sensor had failed, one her father had warned the supervisors about 5 years ago, but they had ignored him to save costs. She didn't stop there. She crafted a temporary replacement with a 3D printer she brought from her college lab, rewired an entire section using techniques her father had taught her in their garage, and recalibrated the controls not through a laptop, but by ear. She could hear when the machine wanted to move, could feel the current in its gears. It took her 10 hours. When she flipped the final switch, the beast came alive with a groan, then a hum, then a rhythm so beautiful it made the old workers cry. The production line moved, the red warning lights turned green, and for the first time in a month, steel flowed again. No one said a word for a moment. Then the entire floor erupted into applause. The same experts who had mocked her now stood stunned, unable to speak. The manager approached her, stammering through apologies and offers. She didn't care. She walked out the same way she came in, toolkit in hand, grease on her face, and a quiet pride in her chest. At home, her father stood at the door, tears in his eyes. "I didn't fix the machine, Papa," she said, smiling. "You did, through me." He pulled her into a hug that said more than words ever could. Later that week, the company offered her a permanent position. She declined, not because she wasn't grateful, but because she had bigger dreams now. She started her own service for training underprivileged youth in mechanical repair, especially girls. She wanted others to feel what she felt that day, not just the power of solving something, but the power of being seen, even when no one believes in you. And word spread. People across Canada heard of the poor mechanic's daughter who fixed what the experts couldn't. She became a quiet symbol of resilience, of grit, of love passed down from a father's calloused hands to a daughter's open heart. In the end, it wasn't just about fixing a machine, it was about repairing the broken idea that only credentials mattered, that knowledge lived only in textbooks, and that some voices don't deserve to be heard. Emily silenced them all, not with words, but with action.